Hello and welcome to Good Employment Chatter, the podcast of the Greater Manchester Good Employment Charter. I'm Ian MacArthur, the Director of the Charter, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome our guest today, Nick Cooper, the Managing Director of Adept. And Nick, it's great to have you here.
Yep, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Fantastic. Well, we have to have you here because you are the current Leader of the Year for the Good Employment Charter. So that was fantastic. What did it mean to win, Nick? How did that feel?
It's probably not the answer you want, first of all. I was embarrassed. I think...
You didn't know you'd been nominated?
No, I didn't. Alex McMahon, I believe he headed up the nomination. He actually told me we were over in Leeds. We had a meeting with another client, and he came up to me and said, "Oh, we've got some bad news." And I'm like, "What's the bad news?" He said, "Oh, we've not been shortlisted for. We'd put in for some other awards." He said, "We've not been shortlisted." So that's a shame. He said, "Oh, but there is some good news. You've been shortlisted." And I'm like, "Why have you put me forward for that?" And he was laughing. He knows exactly what I'm like. But yeah, it was, looking back now, a massive honour, something I'm really, really proud of. On the night, I must say I was probably hoping that someone else was going to win the award. Embarrassed that my name was attached to it rather than Adept, because it's not just a one person is Adept, it's a full team of people. But yeah, incredibly proud.
No, and you deserved it, Nick. I know part of your leadership style is to deflect and build the team around you and for the team to take the credit. But the way in which you have led and changed, and we'll talk about that, Adept over the time you've been there, has been phenomenal. So, and we need leaders, okay? I think good employment right now does need leaders, does need exemplars, people that understand the agenda and drive it, and you well deserved the win. Why do you think you won it? You know, when the judges looked at and there were some fantastic people nominated, why do you think you stood out?
You really put me on the spot here. I don't know. I think, and it's something I've reflected upon and sort of tried to understand, and maybe it's because the industries that we're in. So security and cleaning, traditionally, minimum wage, sometimes below minimum wage. So we are very different in that we're doing it in industries where organisations don't tend to do it. We are trying to be completely different. We are, and it's a bit of a tagline, it people first. Everyone says they try and put people first, but we try and live those values. So I've sort of come down to, perhaps it's because of the industries. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me.
Look, I think the testimonies that we got from your team as well. I mean, it was from them rather than you that you put yourself forward. So even the culture that you've developed was evident in the nomination. And the team fed back to you why they did
it. They've told me multiple times on that they believe that I deserve some recognition rather than Adepts. They do try and push me forward for quite a lot. I think you just said it yourself. I would rather it was Adepts. I would rather the team go forward. We were even laughing about the year before. So we won Employer of the Year and Best for Engagement. And I made a point that if we were successful, I was not going up on stage. It was other people. So I think part of it might have been, I've no get out clause. If it's my name on it, I've got to get up on that stage. So I'm sure part of it was really well thought of, and the other part is, we'll get Nick back here. He keeps making us do stuff. He can go forward.
Sure, but it's the respect for what you've achieved and how you've led people, I guess, that the team wanted to reflect back to you. But you know, when I know the judges, when they looked at the nominations, were so impressed by the testimonies that they got from your staff and the team around you. So what do you think what do you think in your character that makes you that leader?
I struggle when it comes to talking about me, first and foremost.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, of course. There's no way around it today, really, is there? I think for me, sort of, and I know we're going to touch on background and stuff as we go through the podcast, is that, so first of all, I'm neurodiverse. I've had a lot of challenges through childhood and into my adult life. But one thing that's always been a consistent for me is football.
Mm-hmm.
So I played football at quite a good level.
Mm-hmm.
I played for amateur teams all across the Northwest. And Nick on a football pitch is different to Nick in a social environment.
Sure.
And I think that's where I sort of come to my own, and that's where the leadership comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So I was captain of multiple teams across the Northwest, and that's where the teamwork comes from.
Sure.
And once I stopped playing football, I was able to take that sort of skill set into professional life as well. And I think that's where I see it from being from. It's from being the competitive, sporty Nick to the professional Nick.
I get that completely, because sometimes when you move away from your sport and the exhilaration and the adrenaline and the leadership and the achievement, you need to substitute that. We've had in the past discussions with Rugby League Cares, I think, the organisation who look after rugby league players when they stop playing, and a lot of them struggle with mental well-being, and it's how do you replace that?
So it's something missing in your life. You
Exactly.
need to replace it.
Yeah, and work has done that for you.
No, it has definitely. And going back to when we said about the team nominating me, I think if we would have had we have regular quizzes in the office. If we would have had a quiz closer to the time when the nominations were due, it may not have happened, because I'm such a bad loser. and I think that's when I tend to fall out with people if I'm not able to win a quiz, or we did Tough Mudder a few weeks ago, or anything like that. So yeah, I'm very competitive.
No, we can see that, but that's coming across in a positive way, not in a negative
hopefully,
way.
yeah.
So tell me, let's go back, okay? Think about Nick the footballer, but Nick the young man, and what was your first job, Nick? When did you start, working? You don't need to have been paid, but when was your first?
I had a multitude of jobs. Right. So I didn't have a very good upbringing. So I was, for anyone who knows Accrington, I was raised in a council estate called Ferngore in Accrington, where my mother still lives today. So not the best upbringing. So for me, if I wanted to do anything, I needed to earn some money. So from being the age of 14, I had paper rounds, I had milk rounds. As soon as I got a national insurance card, I worked in an ice cream van. I worked, again, going back to being brought up in Accrington, anyone who's ever been through Accrington knows of a factory called Express Gifts. Yeah. So I worked at Express Gifts every single evening, 5 till 10. I worked in an old folks home, so I used to work in the kitchen of an old folks home Saturday, Sunday, all day as well. So I had a multitude of jobs on all different levels, really.
So what did you take from that? You must have met loads of different people, loads of different managers that managed your time and how you were working. What did you learn from any of them?
I think back then I learned on how not to treat people more than anything else. So when I worked in the ice cream van, I won't mention the people's names, but I used to walk from my house in Accrington over to Worley, which is around probably 6.5, 7 miles.
Wow.
So I'd walk over to the ice cream van owner's house. He would then get me in the van, because I couldn't drive back then. I wasn't old enough. And then he'd drop me off at like a picnic site, and I'd be there for 10 hours. And I'd be paid commission only. So if I was sat there on a rainy day, I could earn nothing. And I think from memory, I think the least I ever earned for a full shift is £2 or £3, something like that. But then on the flip side, on a summer, I think there were one 10-hour shift I did. I got £65, and I felt like I'd won the lottery. It was absolutely crazy. So I learned that.
But you worked hard for that.
I worked very hard for that, very, very hard for that. So I learned from a lot of managers on how not to treat people. So I had no training, I had no support. I just got thrown to a side and said, do this. And likewise, working at Express Gifts, like 50% of people from Accrington, it was just a case of being stood at a station, picking and packing, never have no engagement with any managers whatsoever. I couldn't tell you a single name of one of my managers back then either. Yeah. And again, just working hard. I was a good employee. I'd turn up, do my work, and go home. Sure.
So when did you start managing people in your journey?
So I started. So what actually happened with me is I was very naive, and I thought I was going to make it as a professional footballer. And then when it became very clear that that wasn't going to happen, I was probably around the age of 19, 20.
Did you sign forms with anyone? Did you
So I was at Burnley from the age of 9 until 16,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got released. I got offered YTS with Bury, so I went over to Bury. I was there for 2 years. The manager at the time is a guy called Neil Warnock.
Of course.
Yeah, only met him 2 or 3 times. Absolutely terrified of him.
Right.
Yeah, he shouted at me on both occasions. And then once I got released from Bury, I was looking for just any job, to be honest with you. I knew I still wanted to play football.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, I was playing on a Saturday and training on, I think it was a Tuesday and Thursday. So I went to the job centre in Burnley, and they had these job points.
Mm-hmm.
So I was literally just putting Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, looking for a job. And what came up was security officer at Burnley Job Centre, and they were interviewing the same day. So I went over, I printed out the little slip of paper. I went over to the lady who was the job advisor, who now, 22 years later, I'm married to and have 3 children.
Oh, goodness sake. That's a fantastic story.
Went and had the interview, got the job, and I was a security officer for 2 years, I think. And then I was promoted. That was with a company called Securitas. And I was promoted to operations manager. So that would have been 2004. And that would have been my first taste of actually leading a team or managing any people whatsoever.
And how did you feel about that?
Strange, because a lot of the people that I had to manage, only a few weeks earlier, I was working side by side with them. So it was a bit of a culture change. But it worked out quite well for me. I looked after people straight away. I made sure that they got what they wanted from the role as well. I engaged with them. My favourite part about the job is being on site, spending time with people. So I think what happened for me is because I was there to support them, they supported me and made my job a damn sight easier as well.
But that wasn't for your interest. That was driven by a sense of kindness and support, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I've got 2 older sisters, and one of my sisters, she always says to me that Nick's biggest weakness almost is he likes to be liked. So if someone needs a lift to the airport, my hand's going up and I'll do that for them. And a lot of it is the same at work as well. So if someone needs something, I'll bend over backwards to make sure that they get what they want, if it's within my sort of power to do that for them.
I think it's just a bit cruel. I don't think it's just because you like the feedback. I think it's because you genuinely care about the people that you're helping and supporting.
No, it is, but I mean, at the same time, people do. It is nice to be liked.
Of course it is. Yeah. Of course it is. That's reciprocal maintenance, if you like, of that relationship, isn't it? Because they will do things for you then.
Yeah,
absolutely. So from Securitas, what happened next? Where did you go?
So I was at Securitas for quite a long time. I was there for 12 years. Met some fantastic leaders at Securitas.
You said area manager. So where were you managing? How many people were you looking after?
So I went from security officer to operations manager for Lancashire. So I looked after all the security officers in job centres all across Lancashire and Cumbria. So some long trips up to Carlisle and back in the day to visit staff. I think I looked after around 200 members of staff approximately. And then I was approached by a gentleman called Darren Reid, who was really interested in me applying for another job within Securitas, but as a branch manager, this time over in West Yorkshire. At the time, I didn't think I was experienced enough, but he really, really pushed me into applying for it. I was successful, got the job, and then I started travelling to Wakefield every single day. So the M62 can be cruel on the best of days. So I was doing that every single day, 5 days a week. At that stage, I was looking after, I had 3 managers working for me, and probably similar numbers, 250, 300 members of staff, security officers. From that, I was promoted again to general manager, effectively doing the job, but for 2 branches instead of 1. So everything doubled. I had 6 managers. I had 500 members of staff. Very difficult to engage with 500 members of staff, but we work long hours in the security industry.
So, well, you do, and it's a tough industry.
It's very tough.
And it's a tough industry that margins are small, we know that, but also it's kind of renowned for precarious work, low pay and long hours, short contracts, all that stuff. So what did you learn? I don't know Securitas. But what did you learn from their approach to those issues that then you thought, well...
Yeah, I think for me, what I learned at Securitas wasn't really about Securitas the business.
Okay.
It was about the leaders that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So Darren Reed, who I've mentioned, Gareth Ward, he was my direct line manager. I think for me, that's when you talk about building a team at work, and that's what we had. So we were based in Wakefield. Securitas was a big organisation, but there was no better team than the Yorkshire Securitas team. So we had each other's backs. We worked together. Not only did we support each other, but we supported the team on the ground as well. We had a national reward and recognition scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this might seem like something and nothing, but we had this recognition scheme where everyone in the country could nominate people. Yorkshire always had the most nominations.
Okay.
Yorkshire always had the most winners. I made sure personally that I had the most nominations as well.
Competitive, Nick's
very,
coming out
very
here.
competitive, very competitive. And then there is some healthy competitions amongst areas. So we'd know that the Northwest had been winning a new contract and they couldn't deliver everything. So we'd say, well, we'll tell you what, we're going to help you out over here. So we'd start sending staff over from Yorkshire over to the Northwest. And again, just showing how good we were at a team, that how we could deliver the service. And that's what was drilled into us by Darren and Gareth. And I think I learned a lot from those two individuals.
Yeah. And what about the kind of the levels of pay at that stage? Were it pretty difficult?
Predominantly minimum wage.
Minimum wage.
Yeah, predominantly minimum wage. It was really, really difficult. But to be honest with you, I didn't see it as being difficult back then because that's all I was used to.
Sure.
I wasn't used to anything different. I'd never come across the real living wage. I just looked at it as though we do the best we can for an industry where people don't value people.
Sure. Yeah. And a very male-dominated environment, I'm imagining.
Massively
as well.
so.
Yeah. And was there any nod towards diversity in those days?
No, I don't think I ever came across anyone talking about. I mean, back then, talking about women in security, wasn't really considered, wasn't really thought of.
Changed now.
It changed massively now.
Yeah.
But then again, going back to Securitas, the early days when I was there, it was very much the thought process behind it is it's middle-aged men who do the job.
Yeah.
But it has changed massively.
And with probably previous careers in police or services.
Armed forces, exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. So, when did you arrive at Adept? How did all that come? Because I know you worked for Carlisle as well.
I did work for Carlisle.
One of our supporters, and Paul Evans has been on the podcast before as well, so we know a little bit about the industry through Paul. But tell us about that relationship and then how you went into Adept.
So I left Securitas in 2014. Mm-hmm. I actually went out of the manned guarding industry for a period. Right. So I went to work for a company called Orbis Protect. So Orbis are a security company, but what they do is they do the big, ugly steel shutters on windows and doors.
Yep.
So all void properties.
I've seen the brand somewhere, subliminally.
Yeah,
so
I mean, years back it was Cytex Orbis and then changed to Orbis, but they seem to be doing really well. I'll keep an eye on them. I was there for 2 years, and then, funnily enough, Gareth, who was my old manager at Securitas, he sort of came to me and said, there's a vacancy going at Carlisle. I think you'd be really good at it. So like, what's the vacancy? And it was Director of Operations. So I said, well, I don't know. Are they based in Carlisle? I didn't know who Carlisle were. Yeah. It's explained to me who they are and that they're very much a values-led business. Sort of explained to me who Paul was. So I reached out to Paul on LinkedIn and said, look, I'm interested.
And a football connection there.
And football as well. So a big Sheffield Wednesday fan is Paul, and a referee.
A referee, yeah.
So I reached out to Paul, and he came back to me straight away, told me all about the job, and I arranged to meet him in Liverpool. Mm-hmm. So we had a conversation in Liverpool, followed by a formal interview down in Luton, and I were offered the job, joined Carlisle. I was only there for, I think, 18 months, 2 years. Mm-hmm. But I've said this to Paul on multiple occasions. I think I learned more from Paul than I did any other manager. I think he's very intense. He's very busy, very passionate. cares massively about people. So everything you see on LinkedIn is factual. That is who Paul is. And I think from what I learned from Paul, I brought a lot of that to Adept when I joined Adept. But yeah, left Carlisle 2018. Worked for G4S for 3 years, and then finally ended up at Adept 1st of September 2001. So I've just had my 4-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. So what was Adept like when you joined?
Interesting.
There's a word.
It was, so stepping back a couple of months. So when I were at G4S, I started working with a lot of clients who were heavily focused on paying people the real living wage and really supporting getting people off minimum wage effectively. And what frustrated me, and still frustrates me with the security industry, is that so many companies talk about doing it but have no intention of doing it. Yeah. So you have some great companies like Carlisle who actively every year try and push to 100%, and they publicise where they are, and they're getting closer and closer to it. And they hide behind, and I've had this conversation with the Living Wage Foundation multiple times, they hide behind the little phrase recognised service provider, which for me, I'd scrap that part altogether. I think it means we'll try and do it, but we don't have to. And I got to speak to quite a lot of clients, a big one being Bruntwood, and Bruntwood, very people focused. Yeah. And that's when I really got officially introduced to the real living wage. And I took that to G4S and said, this is something we should do. And it just wasn't even a consideration. Sure. It was just pushed to the side. So when I joined Adept, one of the big things behind it is Adept was a real living wage employer. And I thought, this is fantastic. I'm joining someone who shares my values, and we can look after staff. But I joined Adept, and very quickly I realised, even though we paid people a real living wage, we didn't guarantee people a single hour's work. So straight away, I can pay someone £50 an hour, but if you're not going to give them any work, then it's irrelevant. So there was a bit of a change we had to go through. There was certainly a cultural shift that we had to change. I remember one conversation which really pushed me to the brink of almost leaving Adept, is that one of the operators had a disagreement with a member of staff on site. The member of staff was a 0 hours employee, sure. And I heard a conversation where they said, starve him of work, let him rot. And straight away, and I just thought, how it's just wrong. We've all got bills to pay. Why not engage with him and see what the problem is? And anyway, long story short, we had a lot of change within the management team of Adept. I'm now the longest serving member of the management team. We became very early adopters of the Real Living Hours accreditation. So I think that was November 22, if memory serves me right.
I remember, because Andy gave you the plaque, didn't he?
He did, yes.
The mayor gave you the plaque.
He did. It was, and that was a challenge for us, because anyone listening who especially works in the security industry will realise that in order to have enough staff to deliver all the work, and to make sure that you give them enough notice of work, is extremely challenging. Sure. And it's something we've had a lot of pain over. And to be honest with you, Ian, it's probably cost us a lot of money over jumping in with both feet and saying we're going to do it, and then we're going to find out what the issues are afterwards. But we managed to do it, and things are going fantastic. I mean, we're looking further forward now. We're looking at, can we become a real living pensions employer at some stage? Yeah. Which I wanted to do this April, but unfortunately the hike in national insurance costs.
And I know the Charters criteria gave you some headaches as well, particularly when we started talking about sick pay from day one, which is now going to come in through the Employment Rights Bill anyway. But at the time, we recognised that face-to-face workers really needed that protection. Yeah. When they've got proximity with other people, with a bus driver, a social care worker, or someone in security. But I know that gave you a bit of a headache, Nick, didn't it?
It was a blocker for a long time. And I had loads of conversations with yourself and with Sharon. And we were looking at, are we able to do it? And we ran a bit of an analysis, and we were looking at, if we had the same level of sickness, in the next 12 months, as we did in the previous 12 months, how much would it cost us? And it was 6 figures. The sum was massive, and there was a lot of trust sort of placed on, well, me going to the board to say this is the reason we should do it. And I was nervous, to be honest with you, and I was really nervous. But what we actually found is that by engaging with the staff and them feeling valued, our sickness levels dropped massively. And again, I should have brought the stats with me. I think each on average each individual had around 4.3 sick days per year. It went to under 1.
Wow.
It just dropped significantly, and there was still a cost for us there.
Of course.
But the other side of it, and this is something that we really shout out about all the time, is we work in industries where people change companies for 10 pence an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, just me going through the companies I work for, I've worked for 5-6 different organisations, and if you speak to a security officer or a cleaner, you'll see the same, and they've worked for dozens, and some of them are on the books and work for dozens at the same time just to get the work. And what we found is by putting everything in place that we have, so paying a real living wage, by giving security of hours, by paying sick pay from day one, our retention rate is massive. So in the industry, the last time I checked, it was around 68% retention rate for security and even less for cleaning. So we have a combined, and this is 3-4 weeks old, this data, but it was 95.3%.
That's amazing.
So for us, and we can talk about these percentages, if you look at the numbers underneath it, if we take a new person on, you're talking £65 to get them screened, £200 for a uniform.
Sure.
You're talking probably another £400 to get them trained at the different locations they're going to work at, and then £7 a month for ULife, and then another £50 a month towards a bonus. So it builds and builds and builds. So actually by taking the gamble, we've actually saved money. So benefits to the individual, massive. Benefits to the business, I do not understand why more businesses are not doing exactly what we've done immediately.
And what also you get as a byproduct of all of that is building of trust with your staff, because the staff trust and respect you, but you get quality of service because they're looked after. They look after the clients.
Yeah, and we've got, and I've been to charter events in the past where we've put the stats up on the screen, and we can show that our customer satisfaction KPI scores are up constantly on, not just on last year, but on the year before as well. So you're dead right. It's, you look after staff. I think it was Richard Branson, wasn't it? Who, there's quite a cheesy line where he says, "Look after staff, staff look after clients." It's true. It's exactly what we found. Yeah,
and we found it with many of the employee-owned companies in the network as well, because they feel part of it, and you've built that belonging and that trust. Then it's in their interest to make the company, not just their own personal interest.
It is. I mean, we've really recently promoted. In fact, you would have met Paul Howard, who used to work at Number One Spinning Fields. Yeah. We've promoted him to a contract manager. So he's been with Adept since day one of Adept, since 2017. And I went to him and said, I want you to do this role. And me, Alan Briley, Alex McMahon, we sat down with him and said, these are the positives, these are negatives. And he jumped at the opportunity. But at the same time, he said to us, I would not have done this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He said, I'm only doing it now with where the business currently is today.
No, it's an amazing story. Amazing. You've done fantastically well in a short time.
A very short time,
A really short time. So tell me a little bit more about the approach and Adept to diversity more generally, but particularly you mentioned before you're neurodiverse. How have you embraced that within the company?
It took me a long time to embrace my own neurodiversity, to be honest with you. So it's challenges I had all the way through school, not knowing. I mean, I'd go to my parents and say, this is how I'm feeling. And I don't know whether it was my parents not taking notice or whether it was just the time, and it was a case of, you'll be right, just carry on. Yeah. And I tell this story quite a lot. Every time I tell it when Alan Briley's there, he's like, oh, you shouldn't tell that story. But so when I became a manager with Securitas, I used to suffer massively with anxiety. And if I had to do anything, if I had to go to a conference and maybe stand up and talk, or we were at a meeting, just a meeting. We're going around the room, and I have to say, my name's Nick Cooper. I'm a branch manager for Securitas in the Northwest. Whenever it is, I'd be so scared of sweating. So what I would do, I had this trick where I would buy sanitary towels and I would turn them inside out and put them throughout my shirt, mainly under the armpits.
Just to stop the
and that would stop me worrying about my shirt changing colour. So when I tell that story, Alan Bradley's like, I don't like that. You shouldn't tell that. But I had loads of issues, and it was really difficult. And
but what about imposter syndrome, Nick? Big style.
Oh yeah, I think my first 3 years at Adept, I was waiting to get found out. So my mindset was, I've got a 6 months notice. I can find another job in 6 months. I'll do the best I can, but that I might get pulled into the board meeting tomorrow.
And where is that now? Now you've been recognised twice as a leader by peers and by external.
Yeah, it's still not gone. I'm a lot more comfortable in my own skin though. So I think the last 12 months has really changed. I think Adept has become almost synonymous with me now. So if people think Adept, people think Nick, and it's my team, and yeah. So I'm much more comfortable
to a point. But I think going back to the team, and you mentioned Alan and others. Well known now in our network, certainly as really strong advocates for the agenda, for the business, for the sector, and for Greater Manchester. I mean, they're all pulling in the same direction, Nick.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're fantastic team.
Yeah, no, you've shared the burden. But tell me about particularly, because you've done lots of work with the Downs Association.
We have. So, I mean, we've started doing this, and we haven't done it because of diversity inclusion. We haven't consciously thought let's be more inclusive.
Sure.
What we've done is to say let's just do the right thing, and we have a little internal phrase, and I won't say it here because it's a bit of a swear word, but we just say, out of any sort of scenario, don't be a, and we put a little expletive on there.
We could have bleeped it out.
You could have bleeped it out. But so what we do, we just try and make the right decision. And what happened with the Down Syndrome Association is I was talking to a former colleague at Adept back in 2022, it would have been, and he had a son who has Down's syndrome, and just like you're talking about family, and you're talking about your children. We all worry about our children in the future, and I think he made a comment that he worries about his son in the future, and I said, well, he'll come and work for us. He'll come and work for us. And it was a case of, I appreciate the sentiment, but it's not going to happen. And it just got me thinking, well, why not? Why can't we do something? And again, I'd never really considered it at all. So I had a look on LinkedIn, and I reached out to a lady called Molly, who worked for the Down Syndrome Association, and just said, is it possible? Is this something we can do? And we met up on several occasions. And then she found me a candidate. So she found me a young lad called Luke, and you've met Luke from the awards.
Amazing character.
He is. He's fantastic, he's Luke. And as soon as I met him, I just thought, it'd be fantastic. Why more companies not doing this? So we employed Luke at number 1 Spinning Fields, and then very quickly.
And the clients love him.
They do. The clients, the occupiers, all the staff. He's such a popular member of the team. And what's really interesting is it started off, let's do this because it's the right thing to do. So we'll give someone an opportunity. And I've said this to Luke's dad and to Luke as well. I didn't have any expectation from him. Just we will give you an opportunity. But I tell you what, he's absolutely thrived at number 1 Spinning Fields. So his character's changed. He's become more. So he was always quite a vocal person, was Luke anyway. But he's become more confident. But actually, the service he delivers. So Luke loves technology. So what we did is we bought him an iPad, and we said, right, one of your jobs is doing all the health and safety checks going around the building, and he does those health and safety checks better than any other member of staff. So you start looking at it saying, well, the value he's bringing is absolutely fantastic. And again, I always feel bad, sort of, and I've mentioned it on our own podcast a few times. I feel bad saying I didn't have any expectation, and he's amazed me. But he really has amazed me. And then on the back of Luke, we found another candidate, Matthew. So Matthew joined us exactly the same. Manchester Good Geordie in Manchester, just in St John's where he works. We put him there with no expectation of anything. Yeah. And he's blossomed again. So all the occupiers love him. In fact, he's come back to us now. He wants to increase his hours. Fantastic. So we're going to make a few changes. And actually tomorrow, so time of recording, I think we're the 3rd of September or something like that. Yeah. So the 4th of September tomorrow, I've got a meeting over in Leeds with another one of our clients, Walker Morris. We've got another candidate. So we've currently got 4. We've got Luke, we've got Matt. We then had Joshua joined us at Ferns in Leeds, at Leeds Dock. Then Zach joined us at Rochdale Sixth Form. And hopefully we've got a young lady who's going to be joining us. We're meeting her tomorrow. We're going to talk about the role, me, the client, and some of the team from the Down Syndrome Association.
Well, hats off to you, Nick. That's amazing.
So it is, and the value you get is fantastic. It really is.
It's a real signal to other employers to open their eyes and, have no expectations, but give people the opportunity.
And that's it. And it's not just the service that these individuals are doing for us. We actually find that the teams that work with them, Luke and Matt work on a Monday. So traditionally people don't like going to work on a Monday.
Of course.
The team love going to work on a Monday now because they walk in and they see Luke's big smile or Matt, who can be up and down sometimes because he's a Manchester United fan, but we won't hold that against him. But no, it's been fantastic. If anyone's listening who's interested in doing it, reach out to me, drop me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll tell you exactly what we did, how we did it, the worries that we had. I still have worries today.
Sure.
But we can talk about the benefits on how we did it.
No, that's amazing, Nick. So Adept has grown in the 4 years you've been there, amazingly. And you've done all sorts of innovative stuff, like you mentioned your own podcast.
We have,
which Carol's been on, I think.
She has.
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the session. What's next for Adept? How are you going to grow the company? I know you've got lots of new contracts that started, but what's next for your journey? There's
quite a few things we're looking at. Interestingly enough, as soon as I leave this meeting, I've got another meeting about an acquisition on a organisation in a slightly different industry to us. So we're looking at potentially branching our wings out slightly and doing something a bit different.
Okay.
As for the future of Adept, we are growing. So when I joined the business 4 years ago, the vanity side of business, the revenue, we were turning over probably just over 2 million. This year we're probably closer to 11 million. So the business has grown significantly. In that time, we've moved from an office probably the size of this over at Castlefield House. So we moved from there to a temporary office, and now we've got our own office at Left Bank in Spinningfields. Sure. We've invested $250,000 in a new control room. So there's lots been happening. We're now looking at different revenue streams and services which we can branch out to within security and cleaning, and obviously a potential acquisition along the way.
And the partnerships that you brought as well. You know a lot of building owners and building managers across the city now.
We do, yeah. And one thing that I always find really interesting about Adept, and something I always push if we ever speak to a client, this is one aspect we really push at them, is we don't have a sales team. So you will not find anyone with a sales manager's job title or business development. It's effectively me, Alan and Alex tend to be the individuals who go to new business meetings. We don't proactively engage with clients in order to win business. What we find is clients come to us and they say, we've seen what you're doing. We'd like to consider you working with us as well. And it's worked massively for us.
We found that through the Good Employment Charter Network, that good companies like to do business with good companies.
Exactly that.
Don't they? And your reputation's out there and that. So well done, Nick.
Thank you.
So we're coming near the end, and we ask this question to most of our guests. So just imagine you've got, it doesn't happen often in your life, I'm sure, but imagine you've got an hour spare appeared in your diary, and you could nip downstairs to a coffee shop and you could meet anyone, any leader or anyone that you'd want to, from the past or present, and you could have a coffee and a chat with them. Who would it be?
You have put me on the spot.
I know, it's a good question.
Slightly.
It's a good question.
I think if that was a actual option for me, going back to football, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this individual, but he managed Burnley for a long time. It's a guy called Sean Dyche.
Oh yeah.
So he
managed Everton, of course.
He did. He was at Everton. He was at Everton for a while as well, but currently unemployed. So I might see if he fancies a job at Adept. But no, he sort of transformed my club. So Burnley Football Club is everything to me, and he completely came in and transformed the club at a time where we could have potentially been going into administration, into liquidation, and not only did he changed it on the pitch, he changed it off the pitch as well. So Burnley built I think it's a Cat 1 state-of-the-art training facility. They put the infrastructure behind the club, all down to Sean Dyche. And he's a very big advocate. I think on the wall, if you go in the training ground, it says legs, hearts and minds everywhere. And he's a big advocate on that team ethos and winning the minds of people. Never met him. Okay. Never met him. I would love to meet him. I've been in the area when he's been there a few times. Usually at a Kasabian concert or something like that.
Okay.
But I've never grown the nerve up to go over and speak to him. But no, he's very much, he's all about hearts and minds and supporting people. So I think with my Burnley hat on, he would be the one individual I'd love to.
He sounds like if you ever left Adept, he could just fit into your place.
That's it. He could take it to the next level.
You've definitely modelled yourself on him or him on you. So
I don't have the grufty voice though that he's got.
No, it's strong enough though. Strong enough.
Trying.
Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's a pleasure to know you, to have you as our Leader of the Year for the Charter, and to be an exemplar. I know not just in Greater Manchester, but you've hit the national heights as well in what you've achieved, and an absolute exemplar for us all. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.